Hey, Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking on Capnclydes MTG. We're continuing our color breakdown of Foundations as we decide what cards in the set will make the new deck archetypes and lasting deck archetypes for the next 3 years the set's in as a base set. Don't forget, comment, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Comments down below, feed that YouTube algorithm. It's giveaway time. Make sure you sign up. It's in the description, along with links to eBay, TCG, Player Store, and all that good jazz to help keep the channel sponsor free. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, it seems like in Foundations, we have two types of things going on for white. One thing we have is we have this card called Heir Apparent. I don't know if rabbits are going to be a big thing, but with Bloomburrow and such, they may be. But one of the few things that it has to offer in Foundations is really just this card, which actually can be good in any white deck. White and 1 for a 2/2 vanilla. But the big thing is you can have as many of these rabbit cards as you want in a deck. And when it enters, you create a number of 1/1 rabbit creature tokens equal to the number of other creatures you control named Heir Apparent. So if you run a, let's say, 20 land, 40 Heir Apparent deck, it'd be very easy to make tons of these. Because when you lay 1, you'll get a 2/2. It says other creatures you control, so you won't get anything on the first one, but the second one will give you 1 creature. The third one will give you 3, and it just becomes this hot mess. And there are several cards in the set that does things with tokens. There's also cards in the set like Overrun and whatnot, and other pump spells. The Rabbit Tribal is not as strong in Foundations, but in current Standard, I think it will be a thing. This card will probably see a lot of play because of it. Now, from there, we have your basic white removal. Banishing Light is back, known as a strong card in several formats, but in Standard, it does do everything you'd ever want, as it removes any permanent that's non-land. So it is a 3-mana remove all, as long as it doesn't get, the card don't come back unless it leaves the battlefield. But even with that being said, this has always proven to be a top pick of white removal inside the Standard format. So we have this for 3 years. Other cards we have in white: Day of Judgment, 2 white and 2, destroy all creatures. Wrath of God's always been good. And this could go into any deck or splashed in any deck to help with the aggro creatures that are in the format. Again, this is a kind of a catch-all for certain decks, but if you need a board wipe and you're playing white, this is your huckleberry. Now, with that said, let's get into some themes, if you will. One theme, we have the typical white Protect the Queen theme. Divine Resilience. This is the only card that really does a whole lot of it, but the reason I've put this in here: 1 white, target creature you control gains indestructible end of turn. If the spell was kicked, instead, any number of creatures you control gain indestructible. So for 4 mana, they all gain indestructible. It pretty much just counters Day of Judgment like we just saw, but the ability to be cast for 1 white to save a creature is amazing in any kind of white aggro deck. But because of this ability, it's probably going to see play in other formats as well. So this is probably going to be one of the uncommons in Foundation that's going to have a little price to it. And of course, we have our first theme, kitty cats. So starting off the cat tribal theme that is in Foundations, we have Savannah Lions, the OG cat, 2/1, 1 white vanilla. Just doesn't get much better than this. I mean, it does with power creep, but I mean, for the old G, this is right where it belongs. Next thing for the cat tribals, we have the Sky Knight Squire, which is a cat scout. A 1/1 for a white and 1, not all that impressive. However, whenever another creature you control enters, you put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. As long as this creature has 3 or more +1/+1 counters on it, it has flying, and it's a knight. In a white weenie deck, when tokens coming in or any other creature can pump this up really fast, this will be huge in honestly any white deck that runs creatures. but especially in Cat Tribal. Also in Cat Tribal, we have this little fella, the Helpful Hunter. So a white and 1 for a 1/1 draw card. I mean, what more do you want in life? We had the old pupper, the Best of Boys, that was in white, that did the exact same thing. That was also an enchantment, and it still sees play in many formats. So this card in standard is going to be a powerhouse, and if you're playing white weenie, I mean, getting through your deck is sometimes what has to happen to get you to all the juice. And it's cat. Also in Cat Tribal, we have the Cat Collector. Now, unfortunately, this was not a cat. It is a human citizen, but 1 white and 2 for a 3/2 is not terrible. When it enters, you get to create a food token. Not the best. But it also says whenever you gain life for the first time during each of your turns, you get to create a 1/1 white cat creature token. Now, this is definitely geared toward Cat Tribal. But as we get into other tribals, this could also be playable, and the cat token would just be a bonus. For example, we'll get into Angel Tribal here in a minute, which is going to go right along with a gain life plan. Now, with that also being said, the gain life is not only just for angels. We have the Prideful Parent here for the Cat Tribal, white and 2 for a 2/2 vigilance. Whenever this creature enters, you get to make another white cat creature token. So not too bad. Could see play. It'll depend on how many good cats are out there, but it is in the running and it is good. We have the First Fang legendary creature, a white and 1 for a 2/2. Other cats get +1/+1. That's right, it is a cat lord. Unfortunately, it's legendary. Well, actually, probably fortunately, it's legendary so it doesn't get out of control, but whenever it or another non-token cat you control enters, you get to create a cat, which is insane, making 2/2s all day long. This is definitely going to be the big dog in Cat Tribal, along with Kudo Ajani's Pridemate, white and 1 for a 2/2, and you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on him. The Citizen plays well with this in the Cat Tribal deck, so there is some other options. However, some of the gain life spells will not be cats, and that could affect a lot of things. Meaning that the Ajani's Pridemate may not make it into Cat Tribal. But just because it's a cat doesn't mean it can't be played in other things that has life gain. So, for example, we have Valkyrie's Call, 2 white and 3. Whenever a non-token, non-angel creature you control dies, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it. It has flying, is an angel in addition to other types. This is really good in probably the angel archetype, which we'll talk about next, which is going to be probably pretty relevant in the format. Not as much as cats because, Bloomburrow and all them other sets really don't have a lot of angels going on, but maybe there's enough. We'll have to wait and see. And the fact that you can play this with non-angels makes this card interesting, to say the least. But when we get to angels, we have the Youthful Valkyrie, a white and 1 for a 1/3 flyer, already pretty sweet. Whenever another angel you control enters, you get to put a +1/+1 counter on this card. And if you're playing all angels all day, this thing gets big quick. Especially since you play 4 of them, and guess what? It's an angel. So if you drop a bunch of these in a row, they're all getting large and in charge. And the beatdown will then commence post-haste. Other great angels in this deck, we have Exemplar of Light, 2 white and 2 for a 3/3 flyer for 4. Not terrible. Whenever you gain life, put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. Whenever you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on this creature, draw a card. Only triggers once each turn, but if you have a little bit of life gain, like the 1 mana flying life gainer, or the Citizen that makes a food token that you can gain life 1 time, you're basically gaining 3 life, drawing a card, and making this thing huge. This could be a staple in angel decks, especially for standard at being not legendary. And also, how could we not forget Gadia, Font of Hope, a white and 1 for a 2/2 flying vigilance, already really good, but it's a legendary angel, and each other angel you control enter with additional +1/+1 counter. Sweet as well. Also, it taps for a white, which you spend the mana only to cast angel spells. Nothing like having a white theme deck that has, well, elf in it, basically. And at 2 mana, even though it is legendary, playing multiples of her is not terrible because this is clearly not something that can stay on the battlefield. So having 2 in your opening hand so your opponent can kill one and you lay a second one, not the worst thing to happen. Say it. So with that, there's what we have going on for white. Lots of good cross-board removal cards that are good just in general. Plus a cat and angel tribal theme based in the set. It will be interesting to see how this plays out in standard. So till next time, be kind, and as always, I hope to see you across from the game table.